What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Arza Chats here, coming at you once again. This time we're talking about how the fascist left just can't help but melt down over Elon Musk. So, like, subscribe, and hop in, losers. They just can't stop making a fool of themselves. Alright, so the first thing I really want to cover is just this absolutely hilarious video of Mark Ruffalo. I'm unable to find when this video was posted, but it's just... It just goes to show everything wrong with the fascist left mind virus and how Mark Ruffalo and so many other actors are just completely captured by it.
Musk is such a two-faced turncoat traitor because he was a climate champion and he sold.
Ah yes, Elon Musk, the famous climate champion whose cars have caused uncountable amounts of damage in the middle of Africa just to harvest the precious metals required for your electric cars, Mark Ruffalo. The electric cars that you told every single low-income family that they had to go out and buy or else they were a horrible person. Mark Ruffalo is such an out-of-touch person, it's not even comprehensible. He thinks everyone has the money to go and buy a $100,000 car that's nothing more than a vanity project for overly wealthy people who would hop in a private plane just to fly 10 minutes like Taylor Swift will.
Himself out for a buck and some power. Don't.
I want to know what buck Elon Musk made. I really want to know what buck did Elon Musk make for his sellout. I assume Mark Ruffalo thinks that the sellout point was him buying Twitter and turning it into a free speech platform. The purchase of Twitter, I would like to remind you, was a massive hit on his wallet because he was lied to by the value and he paid such an exorbitant amount for what Twitter was actually worth that he hasn't made a profit. Because Twitter was so bloated with bots and they refused to check to see what the bot problem was actually like that he spent more money on bots than he did actual users.
Follow that guy. That guy doesn't even have his original accent anymore. Don't follow him. Don't listen to him.
Ah yes, accents, the things that are notorious for changing when you've been in an area for a long amount of time, and I'm sure Elon Musk has probably paid people to teach him how to speak with a more Americanized accent so he can better communicate with, I don't know, Americans, because he lives in America.
We're the ones who we have to believe in. We're the ones who we're waiting for, and we are the ones that have to move forward together. Elon Musk.
That's right. Mark Ruffalo, the adult pretender, as an neurotic likes to call them, is telling us not to go out and listen to Elon Musk, when all Elon Musk does for the most part is repost stupid memes and comment on how he's working to protect freedom of speech. If you oppose freedom of speech, I only have one thing to say to you. Leave. If you don't like freedom of speech, that's your prerogative, but you have no right to steal anyone else's freedom of speech. I personally am not a huge gun person, per se, but I am such a free speech absolutist that I am also a Second Amendment absolutist, because without guns, none of your other rights are protected. And that's just a fact. A fact that Mark Ruffalo would love for everyone to forget, so that we can give up our guns, and then we can eat the bugs, live in the pods, and own nothing, and be happy about it. Because Mark Ruffalo is an absolute lunatic commie. Can't comprehend a world where he's not on top and everyone else isn't below him. Because get this, Mark Ruffalo's rules are rules for thee, not for me. Mark Ruffalo is, at the very least, a millionaire. Actually, you know what? Let's see just how much Mark Ruffalo is worth. Wow, Mark Ruffalo, that's really a modest net worth. I really see how you're putting all of your money to philanthropy and buying things to protect them for the future of the world with your $35 million net worth. You know what you could do with that $35 million, Mark Ruffalo? You could be the change that you demand from other people. You could have gone out and bought Twitter. You could have, I don't know, bought a bunch of people electric cars so they're not using gasoline cars because you think it'll help. You could go out and you could fix California's power grid so that they can actually support the electric cars they have. Because California currently does not have the means to support a 100% electric car system as it currently stands. But with your net worth, you can make that a reality. You could go out and you could build as many nuclear, wind, solar power plants as you want and get rid of all of the gas. Because as you say, it's so evil and it's the crisis of our generation. Go out and fix it. You have the money. You have $35 million. According to this, your house is worth $1.64 million when you bought it, and that's not accounting for inflation or the current value of it. You have the money to make the change you want to make. So how about you stop whining on Twitter about some guy who's trying to make a difference? Because say what you will about Elon Musk. Say what you will about his stupid pandering, about how he constantly toots his own horn, and how he really seems to be unknowledgeable when it comes to things on Twitter, most of his actions have been for the betterment of society. PayPal, a secure way to handle transactions. SpaceX, a way to safely explore space and modernize space travel so we can actually get something done, unlike NASA, who's too busy cutting red tape to actually do anything. Tesla, the idea was to move on from gasoline cars and hopefully create something that is better for the environment to improve the environment. Twitter, the whole purpose of him buying Twitter was to restore freedom of speech because Twitter was so unbelievably biased. He pushed Twitter silenced any kind of discourse that it didn't like, and it was directly responsible for the 2020 election. No way about it. And they've been trying to censor stuff on there for so long. Without Elon Musk, despite all of his flaws, without Elon Musk buying and making X what it is, the world would be a radically different place. People like me wouldn't have a voice. I would be censored still, and all other social media sites would be doing it too. All the other social media sites are pulling back on the censorship only because Elon Musk is embarrassing them and forcing them to do it. That's it. And of course, Elon Musk actually responds to this tweet. Bizarre. I've done literally 1,000,000 times more than Ruffalo to advance sustainable energy. True. He has been building electric cars. He's been building new power systems. He's been working on a lot of different things. And who have I sold out to anyway? How much do they pay me? Nothing, as far as I know. And it's literally as I had said. Elon Musk literally lost money to buy X. X has not made a profit. X is not increasing Elon Musk's net worth because he was sold a ghost town. He was sold a lie. He was sold an empty mine. A place that had already been stripped clean and had been filled with robots that didn't do anything other than retweet Disney Star Wars. So, Mark Ruffalo, you can keep whining all you want online. It's not going to matter. It's not going to do anything. You aren't going to make any change because you don't actually believe in change. You only care about politics as a way to push your own agenda and push your own power drive. Don't get it twisted. Mark Ruffalo is absolutely a power-hungry guy. If we were actually to go to that communist utopia that Mark Ruffalo wants, you think he'd be like the rest of us chuds down in the dirt working the potato farms? No, he'd be in the oligarch. He'd be one of the oligarchs. He'd be in the top of the tower. He'd be in the ivory tower. He would be the leading class in the communist society he wants, because he doesn't. He's just another left-wing fascist who's pushing the same left-wing fascist ideology that really all it does is it's designed to control people, it's designed to raise up his own power, and it's designed to make him seem relevant, when in reality, he's nothing more than a B-rate actor. And that leads me over to this article, which might just be an even more bizarre situation. Coming from the Washington Post, Cards Against Humanity sue SpaceX, alleging trespassing near Texas border. Now, according to this article, Cards Against Humanity owns a small plot of land all along the Texas-Mexico border as a stunt done in 2017 to prevent President Trump from building his border wall. And now they are alleging that Elon Musk has basically taken over the land and has been using it as both a dumping ground and as an extra storage facility for various industrial pieces. This article mentions that the plot of land was bought up by 150,000 people donating $50 to crowdsourcing. And I just want to say, I cannot fathom the idea behind this. So, 150,000 people donate $15. That's awesome. Donate $15. You could solve so many problems with that money. So that's loosely $2,250,000 that Cards Against Humanity raised. And that's the best you can do with it? You raise so much money that you could actually solve real world problems with that. That money could do so much good, and you decide to use it to troll the President of the United States? You use it just to buy an inconsequentially small-sized plot of land to prevent President Trump from building a small portion of his border wall? First of all, do you think the president is actually going to respect your land? At best, he's just going to buy it back off of you using eminent domain to completely bypass your ownership. Sure, you're probably going to make a profit off of that, but you once again could just take that money and put it to something that matters. Something like, I don't know, getting homeless people off the street. Something like domestic violence shelters. There are a million things you could use the money for other than trolling the president of the United States of America. And they're such better uses. Now, this article states that Cards Against Humanity is alleging that Elon Musk and SpaceX has been using the land as their own property, despite the fact that they don't have any permission or ownership of the land, and there are supposedly no trespassing signs, none of which can be confirmed because none of the articles I looked for actually held any physical proof of any of the things that Cards Against Humanity is alleging. For all we know, they don't even own the land. We don't know. Yeah, of the pictures I can find, we have this one, and we have this one, this, and that. none of which goes to show anything to do with this being Cards Against Humanity's land. We don't actually get to see in the picture of this Cards Against Humanity's land property before. This is the closest thing we have, but how can you prove that this strip is the same as this strip? You can't. It's a flat plane. So there's really nothing to go off on this article that actually tells us that this is a reliable source. There's nothing going on here. So we actually have no proof of what they're alleging to be true. The article also alleges that Texas has been transformed by the development of SpaceX's Starbase, which will be which is a place for Elon Musk to launch spaceships. And one of the main focuses might be commercial space travel, which honestly, I have no problem with. I think commercial space travel would be amazing. Of course, I'll never be able to afford it in my lifetime. Elon Musk, hit me up. I'll sponsor you. I'll be your sponsor. I promise. I'll sing your praises if you just get me into orbit. Just once. I'll do whatever you want. This article falls on to say, while Starbase brought more than 2,100 jobs into the region, it has caused consternation among some locals, according to Reuters' investigation published Friday. Of course, we don't get to know what any of the problems are that people have with Starbase. For all we know, they're purely ideological, and possibly it's because of increased traffic. We don't actually know if it has anything to do with actual Starbase, if it's an actual problem caused specifically by Starbase, or if it's just a problem caused by any industry being in that space. And then, of course, Cards Against Humanity doing what they do and levying emotion instead of levying fact or logic. They argue, before SpaceX arrived, the company's game property was one where wild horses galloped freely in the Texas moonlight. Which is, I already know who wrote that. That was written by a fat white woman with unnaturally colored hair. It's just obvious. Probably from their HR department, which is probably run by fat white women with unnaturally colored hair. It's such a cringe way to say that. It's such a cringe attempt to appeal to ethos that I don't even understand how they thought that was a reasonable thing that would actually sway anybody. It then continues, SpaceX has ignored Cards Against Humanity's right to property, essentially displacing Cards Against Humanity. They use all the buzzwords that'll trigger people like Mark Ruffalo, as I saw earlier in the video. They use the language used by, actually displaced Native American groups, who actually have been displaced in the past, though not recently. And it's just such emotional manipulation designed to get a bunch of cat ladies who have never cared about politics other than whatever Taylor Swift tells them is the correct politics to have, to just get a little angry on their behalf. And then it follows depriving Cards Against Humanity of any use whatsoever for the property. Except, it looks like you weren't even monitoring the property and had no use for the property because you weren't using it. So, how much do you actually care about the property? Is the problem that the property is occupied, or is the problem that it's occupied by Elon Musk? And I really think it's the latter, and this article will go on to say some things that support that opinion. Particularly right here, where it mentions that there are just a few examples of many other acts overtly offensive to those who contributed money. Oh my god. Overtly offensive to those who contributed money. Overtly offensive to those who contributed money to Cards Against Humanity. Let me do they not see the irony? They have to see the irony. Cards Against Humanity, the most offensive card game in the world. A game designed exclusively to be offensive. And they're complaining that something could offend the people who backed the project. What are they talking about? What are they doing? What are they doing? The game is called the party game for horrible people. That's their description. This should be... Elon Musk should be their friggin' mascot because of how horrible they think he is. It's just utterly, I cannot fathom. I legitimately cannot fathom the levels of irony that has to go into this freaking mindset because it's unhinged. They're just unhinged people who don't have a single brain cell to rub with another one. And then, of course, my favorite part about this article is the last line that just spells everything else. It is the creme de la crop. It is the cherry on top. It is the piece de resistance. It is the greatest part about this article because it proves everything. It proves the folly of the male feminist. It proves the folly of the left. The idea that the left will always eat their own. And it shows that those who scream the loudest have the most to hide. And, I can't wait to see what's in, Mark Ruffalo calls it. I would love to see what's in there. What is he so afraid of other people seeing? Now, according to this article, Cards Against Humanity is described as an organization that stands up against injustice. Clearly not, because they are perpetuating injustices, especially by opposing things like Elon Musk's Twitter. and standing with the Democrats against Donald Trump. Now, I'm not going to be an overly political channel, but I wouldn't sit here and say that I don't currently have a political leaning. My political leaning is quite simple, actually. It's libertarian. It's hard libertarian. I oppose government control. Any kind of limitation placed by the government is something that I oppose 90% of the time. I'm not an idiot libertarian who doesn't understand that the government has an important role to play, but I don't like it because I don't see most government officials as authorized authority. I don't trust their authority, and I don't trust their judgment. Similarly, I don't trust Cards Against Humanity's judgment either. There are very few people, I think, who are worth ruling. And so this is one of the few times where I will actually take a partisan stance on something because of just how unqualified one side is to rule. If you don't like that, that's perfectly fine. You're welcome to watch me if you don't agree with me, or you don't have to watch me if you don't want to. I am not entitled to your viewership, but I do appreciate it either way. But just the idea that they claim that they're against injustice when only one side is currently being victimized by injustices is just absolutely insane to me. Just like what happened with Star Wars Theory, where he was targeted for doing wrong when he's clearly the one being harassed, not the harasser. And yet somehow he's in the wrong and the one who's dealing injustices, even though he's the one who's being unfairly targeted by the hate campaigns. And then the piece that just goes into how it really is those who scream the loudest have the most to hide. The company has also been accused of racism and sexism by workers, prompting one co-founder to step down, gaming media outlet Polygon reported in 2020. Of course, it was reported by Polygon, because who else would report it? Because I'm sure it was filled with overly leaden language that was designed to control a narrative instead of report on the facts, and had a full-on believe all victims, no matter the validity of the accusation. And of course, they go on to mention that they have removed cards from the deck that has been criticized as transphobic, and that reference rape. I will reiterate, this game is designed to be offensive. If you don't want to be offended, you don't play Cards Against Humanity. If you don't want to be offended, you go play What the Meme. You go play Monikers. You go play a million other games. You don't play Cards Against Humanity. And that's one thing I've noticed, is a lot of people who I play Cards Against Humanity with, I can't really play Cards Against Humanity. The people who like Cards Against Humanity are the ones who have the biggest issue with the cards. And I've actually seen it where I've been playing the game and the person I'm playing with gets actively mad at my selection of cards, as if the goal is not to be offensive. That is the sole goal of Cards Against Humanity. You don't want to be offended, you go play Apples to Apples, where it's really hard to offend someone. Let's get really lucky with a Helen Keller or an Anne Frank card. Those are the only ways to be offensive in Apples to Apples. It's almost impossible to be. So if you are offended by Cards Against Humanity, don't change Cards Against Humanity. Go play the other game. It's that simple. If a game isn't meant for you because you are too sensitive to play it, don't play the game. Don't change the game, because then you're proving that you are not counterculture and you do not stand up against injustice. It's no different than Rage Against the Machine, who has now become Rage for the Machine. So I mean, all these attacks against Elon Musk are just completely ludicrous, because it's from people who don't actually have an original brain cell in their brain, you know? They're idiots, they're ideologues, and they're people whose sole goal in life is to raise themselves up at the deprecation of society. And that's it. It's no different than the people who are making Dragon Age Veilguard. It's just like them. They're narcissists who need to raise themselves up at the cost of everyone else, because the fact that everyone else is better than them just makes them feel inherently worse. Just look at Mark Ruffalo. He's not an attractive actor, and he's not a very good one either. He's okay. I liked him at a project. I really liked him in the Avengers movie, and I kind of liked him in Age of Ultron, but after that, he really became a nothing burger. He was completely outshined in Ragnarok. He didn't even stand a chance as being one of the best characters in that movie. So he's a has-been who never was. He never really was a big star, so all this is just a way to force relevancy, and I think he's actually convinced himself of the lies, which is the most dangerous part. There's nothing more dangerous than a man who can convince himself of his own lies, because at least when they aren't convinced, they know they're lying. But if you want to keep protesting the savior of the free world, the herald of free speech, be my guest. Because at the end of the day, America stands on freedom of speech. And freedom of speech is in fact an immutable right. Every single human being deserves freedom of speech. And I don't care if that sounds political to you. If you think that statement is an inherently political statement, that all people deserve the freedom of speech, that is a you problem and not a me problem. It's not a political statement. It is an objective statement. And anyone who wants to restrict freedom of speech in any way, shape, or form should start by restricting their own speech. But that's pretty much all I got for today. Thank you guys for coming along. Let me know what you think about this whole situation, both amongst the SpaceX taking Cards Against Humanity's land, if you think it's a credible lawsuit, and how would you think is going to happen regarding that. And let me know your thoughts on the Elon Musk situation as a whole. And let me know your thoughts on Mark Ruffalo and his absolute mental outburst that he seems to have once a month, as if it's timed to something that happens once a month for people like that. Thanks for coming along with me, and just these people, they don't understand their own hypocrisy.